Getting started with Notation Switchblade Part 1. In this video, we're going to discuss the installation, authorization, and file management aspects of Notation Switchblade. First, let's talk about the system requirements. Notation Switchblade is Mac and PC compatible. It requires Mac OS X Snow Leopard version 10.6 on an Intel Macintosh or Windows 7, either 64-bit or 32-bit edition on a PC. Older versions of Windows and Mac OS X have not been tested and are not supported. In order to use Notation Switchblade, you will need a MIDI sequencer program with a grid editor, also known as a piano roll, and an event editor. It is important to have access to a program like this to properly prepare a MIDI file for export. Not all sequencer programs save MIDI files at the same PPQ resolution, so it is also important to know which program was used to create the MIDI file you are working with. Notation Switchblade converts MIDI files into the Music XML format, so you will need a notation program capable of importing this format. The current versions of Finale and Sibelius are both capable of opening these files. Because of its relatively small file size, Notation Switchblade is sold only as a download package. The program itself will run from anywhere in your hard drive, but we recommend you install it in your Applications folder if you are using a Mac, or your Program Files folder if you are using Windows 7. The Mac download is a disk image file with the .dmg extension. To mount it, simply double-click on it from your Downloads folder. You must agree to the license agreement. Once you have clicked on the Agree button, this window will open. Simply drag the Notation Switchblade folder to the image of your Applications folder, and Notation Switchblade will be automatically installed in your Applications folder. The PC download is a zip archive. To open it, simply right-click on the zipped folder and select Extract All. You can then move the unzipped folder to your Program Files folder. Notation Switchblade includes a free 30-day trial. Once the trial has expired, you must purchase a license key to continue using it. Authorization keys are generated from your computer's unique hardware fingerprint. When you request a key, it will generally take less than 24 hours to receive a response. To avoid interruption of your use of Notation Switchblade, we suggest that you purchase your license before the demo expires. The hardware fingerprint can be found by clicking on the Enter Key button that appears when you open an unregistered version of Notation Switchblade. When you purchase a license for Notation Switchblade, you will need to send the hardware fingerprint for your computer to authorization@audioimpressions.com. If you upgrade to a different computer or replace your hard drive, your hardware fingerprint may change. In this case, you will need to obtain a new authorization key. Additional key requests can be sent to authorization@audioimpressions.com. Inside the Notation Switchblade folder are several other files and folders in addition to the program itself. There is a folder with several configuration files, a demo file folder, the Notation Switchblade application, the Notation Switchblade README file, and the Notation Switchblade manual. The configuration files folder includes several configuration files for Notation Switchblade. These files include various settings for use with MIDI files from the most common sequencers and notation programs. Configuration files for currently shipping audio impressions libraries are also included. The demo file folder includes 2 PDF scores, a before and after, as well as a MIDI file and converted Music XML file. You can see the difference between the Music XML and MIDI files by opening both of them with your notation program. You can also open the MIDI file with your sequencer to see how the MIDI CC information relates to the score symbols that Notation Switchblade added during the conversion. The Notation Switchblade application is also located in this folder. For convenience, Mac users can click and drag the application to their dock if so desired. PC users can right-click on it and add it to their Start menu, taskbar, or create a shortcut to put on the desktop. The Notation Switchblade README file contains the end-user license agreement as well as version history. The Notation Switchblade manual in PDF format is also included here. There are 3 types of files you'll be working with in Notation Switchblade. First, there are MIDI files. These have the .mid extension, and these files store playback information. This is the format that is saved from your sequencer. Music XML files use the .xml extension. These files store score information. This is the format that Notation Switchblade converts MIDI files to. Configuration files also use the .xml extension. These files contain the various parameters that you can adjust in Notation Switchblade. In order to successfully convert a MIDI file, you must load a configuration file. Configuration files included with Notation Switchblade always include the word config. Since they share the same extension as Music XML files, we recommend that you always use the word config when naming them to distinguish them from Music XML files. PPQ is an acronym for parts per quarter note. This can also be referred to as pulses per quarter note. This is the linear resolution of a MIDI file, or the amount of spaces between quarter notes that MIDI events can occur on. When recording or editing MIDI information, the PPQ resolution is the number of divisions between each quarter note. It is noteworthy that not all sequencer programs export MIDI files at the same PPQ resolution, and that the resolution of the exported MIDI files are not always the same resolution that the program works at internally. For example, within Apple Logic, you can edit and record MIDI data at 960 PPQ. However, if you export this as a MIDI file from Logic, the saved MIDI file's resolution will be 480 PPQ. For Notation Switchblade, we are concerned with the resolution of the exported MIDI file. The reference section of the Notation Switchblade manual has a list of the PPQ resolutions that the most popular sequencer programs export to. The most common resolution is 480 PPQ. If the program you are using allows you to specify PPQ resolution for exported MIDI files, we recommend using 480 PPQ, since we include configuration files already set up for this. If the program you are exporting from is not listed here, please send a MIDI file exported from the program you are using along with the name of the program to support@audioimpressions.com, and we will analyze the MIDI file and tell you what the resolution of it is. In part 2 of this series of videos, we will create a configuration file and save it as an autoload, prepare a MIDI file for export, and then convert the MIDI file to Music XML using Notation Switchblade.